Hello. Foxct, Fox Connecticut, and Fox News nationally, and other WFSB, other Connecticut news, recorded and confessed involved with identity thefts, with interbranch actors, with foreign police families and medical families, identity theft, fake conversations, forging names, drug crime rolls, predicate acts, faking arrests into databases, faking recorded things, pretending police equipment recorded and putting quotes. Fox CTs and people associated with them recorded and confessed involved with crimes with two Mendez brothers, two Domain brothers, and their family members associated with DACA programs and with natures of scientists and of science teachers and of math teachers and of people with connections next to schools, next to religious places, and next to fire departments intercity, next to the state judicial branch office, next to the state prison offices involved, recorded criminally involved with them, like a Faenza family. Also, these people criminally involved with Connecticut Lighting Police or something that Faenza family also confessed and recorded, involved with crimes with a whole bunch of people on Two Rod Highway, where it runs into Hangdog Lane and the Berlin Turnpike, before the heart of Hartford, Connecticut, and the gravestone to J.P. Morgan, who had the little money for us to fight in the world wars, demonstrably forced by the nature of how George Washington both did chop down the fake branches here and did not, having to leave slavery in Wethersfield, Connecticut, with the French general, and Hartford, Connecticut, and in the North, with the French general right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War. In Wethersfield, Connecticut, he had to meet. It's Hartford, Connecticut, same thing. You go walk there, so they're on horses, whatever. Now, so Fox CT and WFSB and other news were recorded distinctly and non-distinctly motivated to this, with other natures of crime rolls. And this is with and as their crime rolls recorded with Trade Center investigators. Also with and as their ties to Sandy Hook investigators. Also with and as their ties to Aurora, Colorado investigators. All associated with foreign and domestic medical corruption, also recorded and confessed, involved with overt criminal enterprises, demonstrably facilitated not by drugs and other natures of organized crime, but per their roles with criminal justice rackets, with even with lawyers recorded and filed, because they're making fake sides of issues, fake middles, and they're doing that ahead of time in order to having had that done and done that to hide their live progressions. We have states and areas raised criminally foreign influence. That's why the narratives are so overtly pseudo-positive since founding, with politics and with the convictions not led demonstrated, wrought with physical delusions, criminal foreign influences, and such. Like with news pretending they're science. They know that they're directed to lie, to hide how we share police originally and still. Can't tell our American history that way. Have to glorify fake positive, value it more and more, even though when and how that's used. See, because we have fake sides relying upon that here or there as a range manifest being maintained with and as what all that ignored and not understood with our original abridged negotiations with worse than terrorism, the organized crime method that had color left even that overtly, and that still our agencies failed their obligations in the worse than criminally incompetent victim predator fact treatment nature, wrought with physical delusions recorded, wrought with criminal foreign influences recorded, wrought with Trade Center attack roles and crimes with the investigation, with the context, with the people interstate, with Connecticut interbranch associated with former director of the FBI, excuse me, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on RICO law. And this crime acts came before that. See, but the news was recorded, the crime acts, even with private lawyers, This is also with Manafort Brothers and Paul Manafort Drive on the southern side of CCSU. Recorded and involved with CCSU, with interbranch military families involved with identity thefts, with drug crime rolls overt, and with doctors, foreign and domestic, especially with probate courts like in Middletown, and their roles with the policing and all that associated with in the training of every science, like including movies and directors and all that stuff, and like and simultaneously, distinctly, non-distinctly. Hello, Happy Lux One. So distinctly, non-distinctly too, like with Hamilton, that evolved from the relationships with Middletown, Connecticut, Harbor Park. There's a Phil Colo and other extended relatives of my neighbors associated with, recorded with crime rolls with CIA, FBI, and there are other extended family members with identity thefts against me. And with the NASDAQ clicks tied to the houses and to the fire department's criminally involved, recorded in the town offices, election crimes. See, this is tied to the fake news too. WFSB and Foxct are also recorded confessed involved with crimes with my neighbors, extended family members, roles with Wethersfield Police Brothers, interbranch, in court, out court with the principal sex offender crime rolls. Further, the one who just sentenced. So the court that sentenced him and the people that put him away, his doctors in those prison cliques, also recorded with sex crime acts on Facebook and identity theft crime acts, with areas and using databases before that. See, I caught them dead cold. They have some kind of programs with DACA also tied to shared medical corruption with psychologists, with the schools, intercity, like Chris Walters and Mike Pandolf and others recorded and confessed CCSU crime rolls intercity with them through time, and with judges retired and standing involved with the rest of the sex offenders. See, this is with prosecutors and stuff like that, with trick, fact, treatment, nature. I am here with you. Are you talking? Hello. Yes, I'm talking. Happy Lux. How are you? What would you like to talk about? I'll say hello. All right. Where you can hear me so I don't have to type. What is it? How are you doing? Happy Lux. This is about Connecticut News has crime rolls with the Trade Center attack and with predicate acts, which are, I'm not a lawyer even, in other words, mail crimes and fake conversations with me about the Trade Center attack. Fox, Connecticut News, they have wire crimes and mail crimes rolls and methods where they tell everyone to pretend they don't understand when people try to report crime acts, sex crime acts recorded associated with the kids. See, we have foreign police and things and families like Russians with the Hartford Hospital and with the fire departments involved criminally with the kids, and with houses and corners involved criminally with evidence reception rackets, with people that they have with the identity. Okay, have a nice day. See, this is serious conversation though. This is why we always what we hear through time. See, Hartford had roles with child abuses and stuff like that because they have the religious spots also involved with the all these news topics are recorded tied. Paul Manafort, they keep bringing him in the news. See, this is tied to Russians involved with shared medical corruption with the courts of various natures that have been using that to hide their live progressions, personal and criminally with their groups, states and areas recorded in criminal collusion, but they have the phenomena of being able to exploit power. That's why they pretend to be against it offensively. They pretend to be against dictators when they're recorded at knowing consciously dictators. They're consciously identity thefts. They're not letting, they're using online platforms too. No, if you get blocked from Facebook, you can't make a report on the media channels, which they're using for the same clicks involved with the identity thefts. Forced ignored, forced sustained, which is way worse because these are drug clicks, like a Yagman family next to the high school. I don't know if they still live there. They were directed to pretend they knew me. growing up, and they were directed to act illusions, because we have originally propagated criminally foreign influence branches. We have that still. And see, that was maintained to maintain them as lie progressions exploited to areas. And as already standing lie progression cover-up natures needed to blame it on other things and on other people and on selves, because no one understood the real causes of 99.9% of the crimes, which is an organized crime method that was here since before the births of our founders. And so I'm not a lawyer, not peaceful, I'm not criminal, but we're going to demonstrate correlations, power, in means, in might, in identity, because this is an identity theft crime act. Also, they have, various natures of tons of roles with FBI criminal incompetence. Also, the NAACP, they have a fake woman, a woman pretending to be black as the head of the NAACP. So, there are way worse than that, juxtaposed, recorded, conclusive evidence is that everyone never had legal representation. True. Worse. And to all areas and states of all modern nations. That's how we're in criminally foreign influence infrastructural pathology that was forced with the slavery, worse than witch trials and overt black law, like when they had the Jim Crow laws. See, they're entertaining the worse than just entertaining fake, a bridge constitution, physical delusions, and then justifications of that. See, the science with no criminal persuasions was a campus martius that was revealed with the value within as the value of the republic's relationship to nature, which is either going to be the cause to evolution or de-evolution in relationship to a nature of a value nature system, a value/value nature system where our identity is value, individual, group, and together. See, but when the ancients understood that the order of that is supposed to be individual up. See, but we have interbranch, we have lawyers too, fit to the defenses of themselves, of identities, of types of lawyers that require convictions and justifications of that simultaneously require contrast to exploited, never liberated, areas and stuff like that. In other words, reliant upon the imperfect world, defended as pseudo-positive as the perfect world. The perfect world, in quotes, is a phrase used, recorded, involved with FBI and with a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, recorded and confessed involved with interbranch. In other words, they're involved with maintaining opinions, criminally foreign influence of each of the branches, because they did this where and how everyone was a victim predator, blaming negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures caused by how we have shared policing exploited, all as fake sides, as a role in nature, all needing to blame the real causes of that, real roles of that, causing negative value nature progressions, maintaining them, for example, in relationship to our recorded criminally foreign influence zoning laws and pathology. Homes forced, but they had such sick laws, they hurt you and your whole families for even having been found out to have been talking about building infrastructure outside of internation monitored database relationships. That's what we learned in notes at Central Connecticut State University in a history class. See, that was already involved. See, they're keeping the on-off campuses relationships, criminally foreign influence, for example, through exploitations of how we have criminal justice, inter-campuses, shared foreign and domestic. We have Puerto Rico recorded and confessed involved with criminal justice crimes, with prison cliques, in other words, there's prison corruption that's covering lie progressions from the streets, because their roles with larceny, home break-ins, with inter-city police. And this is leading up to a 2006 case. And right before that, with Foxct, with Mendez brothers and the main brothers, recorded and confessed also with the Mulcahy sisters and family I never had a conversation with, and their neighbors and people on around the corner from them on Hangdog Lane, where it runs into Two Rod Highway and the Berlin Turnpike, you know, and that's with Rocky Hill, and that's where they used to call Black Mountain, and they like chopped it up half of it, and now it's like an elderly home or for that's like in Rocky Hill, Wethersfield. It used to look like a little house in the prairie. It was like in the middle of nowhere, like just acreage, like, and then it goes all the way up into Newington, and then it goes across the street to a bridge there. Also recorded, confessed, involved with crimes with the Morrow family, with agencies, with interbranch, with judges retired and standing, with the sex offender cliques, with the proven sex offenders, with the principal sex offender and one in my area. He used to be a former police chief, police dispatchers, kids, involved with retired and standing interstate fire inspectors, like degenerates, you know, with like, you know, they have this mix with undercover where they were, when people say that, they think we're talking about people personally. I'm talking about acts. These are people I had just because someone lives near you or is tied to the people in my area, the same houses, the same cliques, even down to one with all these hundreds of ties to actors with hundreds of natures of crime acts, where they're using, recorded and confessed, using how systemically police are directed to police forms are interbranch are directing people to make loaded statements to people and to make confessions to people, because then these are evidence perception crime methods where they then make that time, they write down other. In other words, the time they have to make the confessions, they write other, and then they have other investigations woven through. And then, in other words, and people have to hide how they made those confessions, because, you know, as only evidence perception natures we have in the background, like with the news. So they're sequence shifting and justifying that. They're pretending passionately, offensively pretending that they're about science. They know they're not about science. That's recorded. Because they're pretending to be about jobs and to care about jobs as a crime method, offensively, consciously knowing that's their means to pretend not to realize that they were faking, stealing people's identities to fake words. Rolls with that with other news people, multi-front. They're recorded consciously pretending they believe that people should sue for rights. As in other words, as means to pretend they don't realize that they're with a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures of crimes, and no one could afford that, and no one could, and all the different types of law are directed criminally not to be able to deal with crime acts, the mandated law. In other words, you tell the Foxct and Fox Connecticut and WFSB are recorded faking news and faking their background justifications of it as directed by interbranch actors who maintain criminally foreign influence. For example, through their roles with DACA programs, like with Southington and CCSU, tied to the there are retired and standing judges recorded and confessed involved with crimes further with kids, with sex offenders, with policing of the schools, with the principal sex offender school. They were worse than him. See, but this is how they're foreign and domestic in collusion. You only need to, and they're using their kids for this too. In other words, 6 things, boxing. So there's forging names and switching names. And then they're pretending not to understand that in the courts. They're attaching fake arrests to people inside the court's databases with Detective Samuda. Also with the CCSU reported interbranch involved criminally with Paul Manafort treatments, sequence shift treatments, because then they're keeping everyone invested to fake opinions, to pretend they're about science, to pretend they're about America, when they know, even I don't know what he did, but I do know since before his birth, and for years, through administrations, New Britain police were recorded in collusion with interbranch police on and off campus, with military families on and off campus, with fire departments on and off campus, exploiting how they have Russians juxtaposed with that, how they have other nations juxtaposed with that, like Italians with the Weatherfield police chief's family, recorded and confessed by his own officers involved with his own kids, foreign and domestic. In other words, his son-in-law too, and his brother and sisters, and families associated with the bakeries in Hartford too. In other words, I can't ask them because they're these the people with identity theft. With the Fred Grisey also recorded and confessed involved with crimes with them, with body double stops, forensics people, with the cemetery that J.P. Morgan was buried in, Joey Quest and stuff like that, and then with I forgot the Olson, Eric Olson and his brother, Matt Olson. I don't know them. They're also recorded and confessed involved with the child offenders and with drugs and with things associated with Park Street, which may be the whole thing made up. But it's sick anyways because it's tied to the infrastructural criminal foreign influences, and it's tied to the Design Street. The Design Street people recorded and confessed involved with identity theft, with on-off campuses cliques, intercity, with crimes with the kids, with crimes with lost Solitos, with Foxct, with drugs, with foreign and domestic doctors, with crimes with courts, identity thefts, fake with crimes covering up fake arrests, attaching people to forged names, fake conversations, fake conversations to pretend things they need to hide, then pretend in the background to prevent police reports. They recorded and confessed involved 3 times using, they recorded and confessed. I caught my neighbors, new and the past ones, recorded and confessed, involved with crimes with a Detective Dillon, who also non-verbally confirmed this, threateningly, from across the street from my house. And he was dressed plain clothes. And so he also did this, confessed this as a kid in relation to another person I don't know who involved with the identity thefts and with the Mayano family and with crimes with a community center and through time with the Domain brothers too and the Mendez brothers with the DACA and medical corruption and identity theft collects that also recorded and confessed with Thaddeus Grabowski, who was a co-defendant and former director of FBI, that they have crimes with that corner of Foxct with that parking garage, threats and roles with those threats, with their recorded roles with the police forms, criminal with that corner. So also they have Confederate flag and KKK themed crimes with the kid themed as their roles with sex crime acts with doctors, foreign and domestic, who have police forms. There's an Anthony Agman also recorded and confessed with his brothers and with his neighbors' brothers and sisters involved criminally with people on each side of the high school, and that's right next to the middle school. Also with a Phil Collo, who's a Scalora family, who are the extended family members of a Collo family, recorded and confessed with identity thefts. In other words, pretending they had conversations with me tied to Ray Claus and others recorded and confessed since before they were police, like a Joe DeMoro, recorded and confessed involved with crimes with police forms associated with Eric Jensen and with the town offices, rest of the sex offenders, and with New Britain Superior Court, rest of the sex offenders. They lied to Weathersfield parents. They hid their roles with sexual abuses using Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court for rape threats. Before I tried to report that, I was arrested and for harassment too, per untimely death confessions and such related to the same cliques with the retired and standing detectives involved with drugs and with criminal uses of the kids in my area. See, they painted them to pretend that they knew me through time. They also, a girl behind one of the houses involved with see, but there's like there are all kinds of federal agencies. Then there's like roles with O'Brien family recorded and confessed involved. They set up crimes in the past that they used when I came home, and now they're trying to make it look like the past is different than the present, because these are sequential acts that I've been trying to report since I was a kid. Because these are identity theft crime acts and database solution stacking crime acts and roles within on-off campuses, fake care, and violence, and identity thefts roles, identity evidence crime roles, rackets, drugs crime roles, and rackets with the kids. That's how they motivated it. So they also, so we have known legalized roles with nuclear weapons, whereas we are fake science with no science that's true, with and as that value, where each modern nation's in an identity of negative value nature progressions, negative value nature progression together. All semi-nature modern nations are one identity of negative value nature progression, reliant upon fake sides, commonly tortured, but distinctly just to have the fact treatment nature rackets trying to form, exploiting everyone, blaming on other causes, on others, not selves, the real causes of it, exploiting it, having exploited that. See, this was engineered by the organized crime method of the proverbial devil, which is about with decipher is in demonstration about how Alpha and Omega, when Jesus said, I am the Alpha and I am the Omega, he's talking about how our complete body of value simultaneously is a semi-nature relationship to the complete identity of existence / space, as a quality of diffusion that is unceasingly being increasing value, but perfectly increasing value nature relationship to the complete identity of space, which is 5 semi-natures as a complete nature that keeps is inseparable from itself. In other words, those 5 semi-natures are gaining value as the same connected value. And we'll see. So all the semi-natures of our body, the identities of them, the complete identity of them, not only do they have a further a constant semi-nature relationship to our complete identity, but our complete identity has a constant semi-nature relationship to the identity of existence / space. So there are proofs that the ancients used the slash solidus. They have other names for it to teach this way. In other words, the science is not only sharing the identity that is forsaken, but that identity's value, therefore forsaken, but that value being the ability to discern the simultaneous complete identity semi-nature identity relationship that the sciences have simultaneously as one body together in relationship to the identity of existence / space. All pace, lost course returns, the stolen forth. Campus Marcius return the name. So I don't know how we're going to get a response because the news is hiding and lying, and they're being directed to do so through various natures of many roles, more than dozens of roles of criminal uses of the standing criminal incompetence of the FBI, with my area, intercity, tied to CCSU criminally and with other agencies. Like there's also with this Yagman family who has been harassing me for years online. I've been asking him to leave me alone. He blocks my posts. He's not even on my friends list. And he's still typing on my page. I'm on my page. These extortion acts, they're also controlling what I could say. Because now I can't talk about, I have to ignore, I have to counter what they're not letting, they want to pretend is the past, but it is active. In other words, this is not the past. This is still with them also recorded making fake YouTube pages, fake Facebook pages with me, with the same interbranch police, in court, out of court, recorded, confessed, involved with the sex crime acts. I caught them with the kids, sex crime methods, drug crime methods, medical crime methods with the same clicks, tied to this, their roles with this through time with DACA families, foreign and domestic. See, they're keeping our interbranch ones roles with this DACA program as a means that grows them up criminally foreign influence, not through one, and then exploits that for things like their roles with the Trade Center, and then investigate within as their roles within the investigators of that and of the Sandy Hook, and within as their family members also recorded involved with the child offender crimes. Further, I caught them with the O'Brien family and with the corners of Highcrest Street with the principal sex offender, and with the corner of the Samuel Dick's house and houses around there like this Anthony Yagman who won't leave me alone, recorded tied to the Lethe family that forges names and attached me to fake conversations. Their roles recorded and confessed involved with a Mendez family. One time he called me on the phone, confessed and recorded that was tied to his crime roles with a Lethe family too, and with KKK themed and Latin gang drug cliques with them, and with doctors, with their drugs, foreign and domestic with them, and with identity thefts. In other words, he called me on the phone to make it because his roles with federal criminals who were co-defendants of a former director of the FBI. For example, in a part of a case in 2006, and their crimes with that leading up to that, because they had crimes with people leading up to and in the context of the Trade Center Act. This is a proven sequence shift. This is a click with a proven sequence shift in the Ninth Circuit in the Trade Center attack. Recorded and confessed involved with crimes with people the night before, and with the investigators and the investigations of that since, with a Scalora family. Also recorded and confessed involved with their roles with home break-ins, intercity, and they indicated with my house too. See, if they try to do that undercover too, they might have done that with a warrant. For example, they're also using warrants criminally with the Manafort treatments, because they have to hide their role with child crimes with New Britain police and with FBI and with CIA and with their family members, recorded and confessed also with foreign crime police forms and overt criminal enterprises, recorded in collusion with their crime acts, roles, and natures recorded. So now they have to hide their crime natures. CCS, WFSB, Foxct, they have to hide their crime natures. Their method is pretending to be about science, when they're obviously not about science. They pretend they had a conversation with me. They've been lying to Wethersfield parents with interbranch families that were recorded criminally foreign influence through their roles with other nations' families. They said that a DeMoro family also recorded confessed roles with this, with the interbranch actors, with intercampuses crime acts, with identity thefts clicks, with the on-off campuses investigators, and roles with like DACA and things like that, with food services and things like that, with foreign and domestic police undercover and stuff like that, roles with even private security guards and stuff like that, all roles with database illusion stacking that is tied to their where and how they won't let people have free speech, and they steal our speech with fake news, multi-front with the courts. In other words, and the courts are recorded and confessed with crime methods and natures that threaten people to say nothing about their roles with the recorded child sex offender crime acts and identity theft crime act, and they attach us to fake conversations, to fake arrests consciously. That's recorded. To see they stack sequence shifts. Now this is with Connecticut courts yet proven, but it's recorded, and it's recorded tied to the investigators of the Trade Center crime. And see, this is maintaining our interbranch legal natures, and lawyers also criminally involved with the branches. And so we have to be able to report the crime roles of the courts first. Otherwise, they're going to be coaching who the lawyers and the overt criminals and everybody else's opinion natures. See, they've been doing this with the interbranch families, with their own kids. They're recorded lying to them about me. Christine Bedard and John Mayana recorded and confessed that tied to their crime roles with their evidence, with their identity thefts. They had been placed in a cooking class with me. Also with people tied to a Lombardo family recorded, confessed, involved with identity theft crimes with them, and with the people in the houses in my area, with the sex offenders associated with them, and with the further worse ones tied to the principal sex offender that they were using their own kids and police foreign and domestic. Bob Chase said that Phil also recorded and confessed that Phil Claw was involved with this. They're refusing to put anything on paper because this is forensics families involved with child offenders, and they had crime roles with the transition from Aka to Rico, and with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, and with uses of police forms associated with forensics, and with the agencies using that criminally in the past to hide their as crime roles with where and how we have people worse than taking mothers away from babies here and then directing people to be pretending they're against that. See, we have that every single day. States and areas evil, and they're pretending because time and they have the nature of each job. They have the sensibilities, for example, of the media, need to feel good about themselves by ignoring people and by stealing by ignoring their crime acts roles as pseudoscience, pretending other. They need to pretend other to feel good about themselves, but they're stealing identities to fake conversations because they can't take a real conversation because they're criminally involved with the police privately, through time, socially, through time, family members through time. That Foxct also recorded and confessed involved that they have a Ben Goldman involved criminally with them. They would rather have me. I don't know how we're gonna get a response from them too, because they're lying to the attorney general with states attorneys also recorded and confessed involved in collusion, stacking fake arrests of people into databases, fake conversations into databases, hiding their confessions regarding this, recorded too, sequence shifting into databases. Now, there's with the same clicks with the Trade Center investigations, crimes, investigators, interbranch retired and standing, also with their family members associated with these crimes, with the children, with the principal sex offender worse, recorded, interbranch too, and medical involved with it too, further foreign and domestic. Let's go, religion, trade. Shouldn't have to beg for our voice, free speech. Let just one teach. You want to do it hard, Foxct, we'll do it hard. Because I'm not going to be attached to fake conversation. So anyways, There was a algebra class I had with a domain family and with the Yagman family, recorded and confessed involved with doctors and with drug clicks roles with a teacher associated with, as a victim, but they're using such as victim predators. In other words, I never had a personal conversation with her, but other will be painted because these are people. In other words, and this is also recorded and confessed involved with their roles with foreign and domestic associated with the mobiles and with like Pakistani people, country and Russian. See, we have countries with nuclear weapons and with shared policing of all that associated with that, because we have mutually assured destruction because we don't have an identity of our nature. We don't have science real defended. We have physical delusions, inter-science that are maintained, also juxtaposed criminally foreign influences reliant upon them. See, no area had legal representation. Foxct, WFSB, why? You're going to get hurt by the Attorney General because you didn't follow the news, and you're not science. That's recorded, and you're and interbranch switching names is making this consciously impossible for anyone, and they're exploiting the nature of people who will not deal with crime acts that have to do with interbranch crime acts in natures, juxtaposed with foreign. That's being exploited. So we have problems, and they're going to have more problems because they're not fixing their fake news and their identity thefts using interbranch actors and using databases and campuses of all nature. Oh, truth, the sequence nature longs to sweep CT. CT is cherry tree that George chopped down, but he didn't too. I tell no lies. But CT now, quick and fast, two sides. Yes, we need